So we'll go ahead and hop in. And when I want to sell, I use many different techniques to sell. I'll use Facebook Marketplace. We sell about 60% of our properties on Facebook Marketplace. I go ahead and I do neighbor letters, signs. I work with Habitat for Humanity. I've sold them 11 properties. I'm going to pull up the Home Builders Association and show you how you can work with home builders. I list some properties with realtors, just the ones I don't want to deal with. I'll just go ahead and list with realtors. And as we all continue learning, I learned another technique today that I'll share with you. And I can go into the clerk of the court, and I'm going to show you this, where I can pull up any notice that's been filed for a property. So I can go in there and see everything that's been filed in the last 2 years and pull a list of builders potentially. But as I was doing this, I started thinking, why don't I just call Escambia County Building Permit Department? And I got transferred around and I finally got hold of them. And they had me go online and fill out something through the Freedom of Information Act. And they're going to give me a list of every builder that has taken out a building permit in the last 2 years in Escambia County. So I have worked with the Home Builders Association, but there are a lot of builders that aren't members of the Home Builders Association. So as a result, this is going to bring up a whole new audience for me. So I'm going to go ahead and share that as well. Investors, I pull a list of investors that have bought within the last 2 years in my zip code or in my area. And then I put in there they have to have owned a minimum of 4 properties. And by doing that, I found investors that just bought recently where I'm trying to sell and they own 4 or more properties. But I also pull up exactly what they paid for the property. And that's a good list for me. I can typically pull up a list of about 80 investors and contact them. That works out real well too. Again, realtors, signs. I showed my sign yesterday. I'll show that again. And I don't use Craigslist a lot, but the first property that we bought, it was a lady that lived out of state. It was landlocked property. I bought it for $100. I put it on Craigslist, sold it in 3 hours, and met the buyers at the bank. So you don't want to necessarily overlook that as well. And if you guys have questions as we go along, go ahead and do that. I did have someone that was interested in finding out where I get the Versium data. And Jennifer, that gives me additional attributes on my list I'm marketing to. It gives me age, gender, marital status. I know their income, annual income. I know their net worth. I know their credit scores, all the way down even to what kind of car they drive. And I had previously paid $3,600 a year for that data. We had a vendor on, Nicholas Nick, who has a company, Lead Mining Pros. And as he's presenting, I said, you're getting your data from Versium, aren't you? And he said, yes, but now we can get our data through him for 12 cents a record. So if I don't want to spend $3,600, I can send him a list of 1,000 records for $120. So I'll share that information in the chat in a little bit. I'm not real big on just playing videos or putting a bunch of stuff up there on the screen and reading exactly what it says, but there's one video I'm going to play. It's 11 minutes long. I'm on about the first 4 minutes. My wife's on the next 7 minutes, and it's how she takes properties and puts them on Facebook Marketplace and what that process is. So don't glaze over as you guys are watching it. But I do want to play it, and it's also in your library or in the 6 weeks that you guys have as well. So, and as you guys go ahead and look here, you will find that information in week 6, but I'm going to go ahead and play it as well. Right here, Facebook Marketplace. So I'm recording a recording, but we're going to go ahead and do this. Now we're going to go over Facebook Marketplace, which has worked exceptionally well for us. And if you haven't been joining groups, and here's a sample, please type in the city and the county of the area that you're going to be working in. And for this example, I just put in Pensacola and I'm looking under groups. And you want to join as many appropriate groups as you can. And if we look here, we can see Pensacola area for sale, 14,000 members. So go ahead and join that. And it may come up with a questionnaire or it may approve you immediately. And I'm going to come back to this shortly. And so we went ahead and our membership is pending, but continue to go through as many appropriate groups as you can. It may be buy, sell, or trade Pensacola area. There's 8,300 members. Pensacola buy, sell, trade, 1,100 members. For sale items, 33,000 members. So continue to join as many groups as you can within your city and within your county. It can be garage sales or anything real estate related. What you see on my screen now is a property that we have referenced before, 3807 West Mallory Street in Pensacola. And we did a double close, and you can see that we both bought it and sold it on June 27th of 2022, buying it for $10,000, selling it for $15,900. And we did this through Facebook Marketplace. Now I'm showing the responses to that ad that we put in Facebook Marketplace. And over here to the right, these are all responses from the one ad that we put in Facebook Marketplace. And Lisa's going to show you exactly how she put together the actual ad or the type of ad that we use within Facebook Marketplace. But you can see all these responses here. And I believe there were about 60 responses. And Facebook Marketplace, it was free, but we put it within Facebook Marketplace, but also in the other groups that we joined. And here, these are still all responses from that one ad. So we had 60 responses. We put it in Facebook Marketplace on a Thursday. We got our first full price offer on a Friday, and that offer, that one did fall through. They found out they could not put a mobile home on the property. We resold it again the next day on Saturday, and that was the individual that bought the property right here. So again, Facebook Marketplace is great. And Lisa, in the following video, she's going to show you exactly how she puts the ad together and what that process is.
We're going to list our property on Facebook Marketplace by creating a new listing. And then we're going to click on Item for Sale. It brings us to the Marketplace template, and the first thing we're going to do is add our photos for our ad. I've created a folder on my computer for this property that has all my photos in it. All I have to do is drag and drop those photos into Facebook Marketplace. For this property, we used an aerial that we got off of Google Maps. We're using a dimension map that we got off the county's website showing the dimensions of the property. Several street views and different property views. Once we get them all into Facebook Marketplace, which can take a little while to upload, you can, once they show up, start rearranging the photos just by dragging and dropping into the order that you want them to be in for your ad. Price is $16,900. And the category is going to be miscellaneous. Facebook Marketplace does not have a category for vacant land. And the description. And the description I created in a Word document, which I saved in my file. So all I have to do is copy and paste it over into Facebook Marketplace. This description can be used in other ads as well. So it's good to save it all in one file folder where it's easy to find on your computer. And then we click Next. And the location of our property for sale is Pensacola. And Next. And on this next page, these are all the groups that we are members of or that we have joined on Facebook. So those groups pop up and you get the option to post this ad to those groups. So I'm going to go through and select a few groups that I want this ad to be posted to. And once you click on these groups and your ad is published, it doesn't mean it's going to show up right away in those groups. Some groups have administrators that have to approve the post first. Before you hit publish, you do have the option to go back and fix things if you need to, but we're going to publish. Okay, now our ad is published in Facebook Marketplace. And here it is. And you can share the link to your ad by clicking share and copy the link. This link shows up in your computer's clipboard, and you can paste that link into emails, other Facebook posts, however you see fit. In the previous video, I showed you how to put something on Facebook Marketplace under item for sale. In this case, we're going to list it under home for sale or rent. Facebook Marketplace does not have a category for vacant land. So just like before, we're going to upload our photos, and you can arrange them in any order. And then we're going to choose for sale. And then under property type, it doesn't really matter which one you choose. You just have to make a choice there. You have to make a choice under bedrooms and bathrooms. You'll list your price and then the area that it's for sale in. Then we're going to open our file with our description and copy our description into the ad. Vacant land in Facebook Marketplace, be sure to put vacant land, vacant lot in your description. So if someone is searching by those words, vacant land or vacant lot, it will find it in that description. The area that you're selling is Pensacola. And then here is where you can, and then once you have all your groups selected, and there is our marketplace ad under homes.
So that video is actually in week 6 that you guys have. I didn't want to share it. Facebook is changing things. It might be different next week than what it is right now. And when we put it in Facebook Marketplace, we can put it in up to 20 groups. So when I get a response in Messenger, what I've done historically, all the messages that I've received are still in Messenger. So I have probably about 800 or 900 people that are looking for vacant land in Pensacola. Some might be looking for a different product, a mobile home site or something like that. But that is an overview right there of Facebook Marketplace. So I just wanted to play that. But so many different things that we'll do as well. Neighbor letters.
Hey, Michael.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask? I saw in there it said seller motivated. I love it. And you had the list price at 16.9. Great. So do you list it for a couple thousand more than what you're willing to do? Or how does the list price correlate to what you're really willing to sell it for?
Yeah, well, we ended up selling it for 15,900 in my comps. I had one comp at 15,000 and one comp at 17,000. So
Okay.
I don't try to squeeze every penny out of the deal. Sometimes the timing is important to me. I want to move it.
Sure.
So we ended up $1,000 lower, but we owned the property for an hour and a half, by the time we went to the title company. And later I'm going to give you the information for Versium.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask real quick on your Facebook ad for the properties, not the vacant, not the miscellaneous, but the other category of houses for sale, but then you're specifying vacant lot. But in spite of that, it shows up as 1 bedroom, 1 bath room only.
Yeah.
And then the full price per month, but I guess it's understood that that's the full price.
In Facebook, they don't have a land category. So
No, I understand that.
Yeah. And so if you put it under houses for sale, you can't put 0 on both those categories. You have to put a number in there, and you don't want it to be misleading to the public. But if you want to place it under real estate for sale, you have to put that 1 in there unless it's changed.
Okay. That explains it. Thank you.
Another way that we do this is neighbor letters. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and clear this out. And this is the same property that we just showed. I kind of use this as a case study. And I'm going to click on this property. And when I do it on PropStream, it's going to show the 100 nearest neighbors right here. So if I want to do a neighbor letter, and I'm not great at this drawing feature right here, but if I want to do approximately 25, now you see over here to the right, there are 36 properties. So I could narrow it down if I want to, but I can go ahead and just click here and I can create a list right here, 36 properties, save. And so I'm just going to create a mailing list, basically. We'll just put in 36 and I'll save it. And within PropStream, if I want to, I've got the property addresses and the mailing addresses of these 36 neighbors. I can go ahead and export this list, and I could go ahead and, use Click to Mail or Postcard Mania or Rocket Print and just send them the spreadsheet with the letter and have them go out. Or if I wanted to, right here in PropStream, I could skip trace them and I could call them as well. So neighbor letters work great, but when I'm doing neighbor letters, the best thing that I can do, and I call, is I always call the adjacent neighbors. So property that we bought September 3rd, the one for $12,218. The first thing I did was skip trace and called the neighbor next door. They offered $29,500. I took a day too long getting back to them, and they said they took the money and they went and bought a car. So, but neighbor letters are great. I don't sell many times, but the adjacent neighbors are great candidates. So neighbor letters have worked very good for us. Then another one is builders. This is the National Association of Home Builders website. And as you go here and you scroll down, you're going to see the local chapters. And so now I can just enter Florida. And here is the Home Builders Association of West Florida. This is where I'm located. So very easy. I can go ahead and pull this up, and they have a directory. And in the directory, they have builders. There are 91 builders. It used to be 91. There are 90 builders building in my market, and I currently work with 11 of the 90 there. So the Home Builders Association, and there are a lot of builders that don't belong to the Home Builders Association, and I was educating myself on that today as well. Another tool that I can use to find people that are building.
Ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
How did you narrow it down to those 11 that are the building on the type of lots that you are selling?
Yeah, there are some of these that are building on the type of lots that I'm selling. I've established relationships and sold to 11 of these 90.
But I'm asking, how did you determine which ones would do building on that type of lot?
Yeah, what I did, I just went ahead and started calling them right here. Yeah,
Okay.
and would call them and just let them, my name's Michael Robertson. I buy vacant lots in Pensacola.
Mhm.
I buy them substantially below market, and I pass on the savings to my builders and my clients. Would you be interested in seeing what I might have in inventory?
Okay.
And I typically, I don't reach out to 11 at a time. It's probably just not my nature.
Mhm.
So Habitat for Humanity is a great client of mine, and I sell to them a little bit lower than some of the other ones. But the nice thing is, I called David Kane, who is their land acquisition guy. He's now my buddy. And I said, David, I've got this lot. And he goes, I'll give you 27,000. And I said, well, how about 28? And it's just a one phone call deal. So it's important that it's a good relationship too. It's not, I've got to sell this and squeeze as much money out of it. I want to have a good relationship as well.
Sure.
So, another tool that I was on today is the clerk of the court. And some of this information is just from learning how to dig into it. And this was from today. I learned this today. I could put document type, and I could put notice, like as in notice of commencement. Notice. And I could go back, say 90 days, and say, show me all the records. And this could be a roofer. It does not necessarily a builder, but it's just another tool that I'm learning. And in here, here's 3,200 people that filed notice of commencement within the last 90 days. And here's the list here. And on some of these, you'll just see, they're home builders. And they may not belong to the National Association of Home Builders. So it's another technique. But then later today, I just went and typed in Escambia County building permits. and talked to him, and I told him exactly what I was trying to do. I'm trying to find a list of builders that are building single family homes that have taken out permits in the last 2 years. And they said, I've got to talk to Teresa. I can't remember her last name, Teresa. They gave me her email. And so when I called her, I said, I got your name from the building department. She went, shame on them. Why did they give her information? And she was joking. She guided me through the process, and I had to fill out a little online application through the Freedom of Information Act. And that email that I sent ends up going to her, and it takes her about 30 minutes to pull that full list. Now I've got a list of home builders that have taken out building permits in the last 2 years, and I'm going to have the full list in Excel spreadsheet. So that was just something that I started doing today. It's just another resource. Habitat for Humanity is a great client. Jennifer, earlier in the week, I built a custom chat GPT, and chat GPT needs some babysitting. But what I asked it to do was show me the 5 best counties in a state to market for vacant land. Within the 5 counties, show me the 5 best zip codes, show me the most active land buyers, the most active land sellers, give me the links to the Home Builders Association, Habitat for Humanity, the appraiser's website, the tax collector's website, and it kind of automated that process as well. So by doing that, and I shared a couple GPTs there. I did another one that's just good for Florida, and you just enter the name of a county, and it's going to pull up the links to the appraiser's office, Habitat for Humanity, the Home Builders Association, and the tax collectors. So that works out real well also. And then I market to investors. So I can go ahead and clear my list here, and I'm just going to put in a zip code that I market in, one of the zip codes. And in this zip code, I'm going to create some filters, and I'm going to look for vacant land, basically residential vacant land, and you can sort by any type. And now I've got 1,640 people on my list. But what I want to look for is, out of these, show me people that have bought in my zip code in the last 2 years. So I'm going to put 2 here. And now I've got 148 people that have bought vacant land in the last 2 years, right where I'm trying to sell. And then I would say, show me the ones out of that 148 that own at least 4 properties. And now I've got 77 people. So here's 77 investors that have bought right where I'm trying to sell. This is zip code 32505. So I can take this list and I can download it. I could skip trace it. I could call them. I could mail them letters similar to mailing neighbor letters. Or if I want to dig down even a little bit further, out of those 77, and we'll go ahead and click on one of them. Out of these 77, I can see here's a real estate investment company that purchased a property 3 months ago, right where I'm trying to sell. And what I can also see, I can click on MLS details. I can see exactly what they paid. So as I go through these 77, there are buyers in that list to sell to. So that's another technique. But now out of these, if I wanted to, I'm going to take it a step further. Out of these, show me which ones of these 77 sold on the multiple listing. And I can go here, which ones sold on the MLS. Now it's down to 25. These 25 investors bought their property from a realtor. So what I can do is go ahead and click on one of these here, and it says MLS detail. And now I can scroll down and I can see the agent's name, phone number, email, and company that sold properties right where I'm trying to sell mine. Well, that realtor may have backup buyers because they were already working with investors. And if I'm having a hard time with comps, like someone had asked earlier, sometimes the values are not perfect. If I'm having a hard time with comps, what I would do is call this realtor, April Kent, and just introduce myself and say, I'm buying a property on Mallory Street, and it's very similar to the property that you sold on West Michigan. if I was to list my property with you and I want to sell it in 60 days or less, what do you think we should list it for? So it's helping validate when the Redfin data and the Zillow data and the PropStream data is not all perfect. Maybe my range for the property is too large. That's an agent that's worked right there in that specific market area. And many times I will give them the listing. So I'm not just calling them up and using them. I've given many listings to realtors using this technique. So PropStream is a good tool to go ahead and find investors. And then you can ask ChatGPT. When I was building the GPT to pick markets, I also asked it who are the best realtors for land within each of the 5 counties that it gave me. Again, Redfin, PropStream. I'm going to play a short piece of a video later with the realtor that we interviewed, and she kind of talks about the process of working with realtors. So I'll play a little short piece of that one as well. And then I also use my county records.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
This value is 185, but you sold it 1,600, 1,500.
No, that's not,
Oh, this is the house.
it's not a house. It's vacant land, but sometimes PropStream will show the value as if there was a house on there. So,
Oh, okay.
so when you see these, disregard these.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's just how
Oh,
PropStream.
that's was my previous problem with property.
Yeah,
Like, it was
these
got
values.
confused.
Yeah, this one, it's at 150,000. It sold for 14.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The county records are a great tool to do this as well. This is the appraiser's website, and 3,100 counties in the United States. Most of them are very different, but I can do an advanced search here, and I'm going to use with the same zip code 32505. And I assuming mine's assessed at $10,000 or $15,000. So I'm going to pull some comps and see what's selling in this area from $10,000 to $25,000 assessment. And I want to have properties that are about the same size. So we'll go, I want a specific zip code, and I want vacant land, vacant residential land. And now let me pull up sales that sold, just say between, we sold ours for 16,000 basically. And this is a little bit more recent information here so I can go ahead and pull a list right here and do a search. And here's 26 people that have bought vacant land in the zip code where I'm trying to sell. It's similar in assessed value, it's similar in size. And what I'm pulling is just guidelines. But as I scroll down, sometimes you'll see repeat names. And this is one we looked at earlier, JLC Real Estate Investment here. That might be a great one. Sometimes they're individuals, but a lot of times there's Habitat for Humanity right there. And I can go ahead and look at the record and see exactly what Habitat paid for this lot. It was assessed at 24,000. They paid 29,000. So if I was doing this market area and had something similar, I would just call my buddy David Kane at Habitat for Humanity. And here's Habitat for Humanity again here. Here's Habitat for Humanity again here. So they're extremely active in the market. And you can see the bottom one, they paid 28,000. The one here near my cursor, they paid 26,000. Here they paid 29,000. So they're basically paying $27,000 for similar properties right here in this market. So Facebook Marketplace is great. The neighbor letters are great. Builders, the Home Builders Association is great. And I showed you a new technique by just calling the building department and asking them, how can I get this information? I know people that are a little younger than me, they're not so much on the phone. Many of them just want to do everything on the computer. But I'm anticipating getting an excellent list that will help me sell properties quicker, probably quicker. If it's not someone that I already have on my list, but I'm going to have another whole additional list as well. Let me go ahead and stop sharing for 1 sec. And another technique, and this works great. You may be working remote, so it might not work quite as well, but just signs. I go out because I work Pensacola where I live. That's my market. I've been working it for 8 years. It's the same market, so I know my values. Sometimes the best comps are what I do. I know some of you work remote, so signs are maybe not realistic.
What does
I
your
just-
sign say?
What my sign says, lot for sale, call or text, and this is my cell phone number right there.
Yeah, we
I
can
love it.
hire someone to put a sign.
Yeah, I mean there it is. So you guys have my number now. You could call or text me. And
That's the best sign you can use.
yeah, and I just do it on both sides. I probably bought 100 of these blank signs, and I just bought the big marker pen and the little metal stakes. And the last one I put up, I got at least 20 calls off of. So the signs, it's just, we're marketing. We have this property under contract, and my goal is to buy it and sell it as quick as I can.
That's an old timer's game.
But they work. They work very well.
I've been using those for years.
Yeah, they're great. Craigslist, I don't use Craigslist a lot, but I mentioned earlier the first deal that we did, I put it on Craigslist, sold it for $100. I mean, bought it for $100, sold it 3 hours later for $1,000. And then the next one we did, I mailed out 400 postcards. The next deal off the same mailing, we bought it for $3,000. I sold it to the neighbor that lived directly behind the property for $6,000. So I do like to put a lot of emphasis on selling. The longest that we've owned anything, we bought it for, I think, 27.5, and we sold it for 51 something. I listed it with a realtor. It was on a private dirt road. The access wasn't great, but I don't know what we made. I think we made $27,200 on the deal. Realtors are great. I'm going to just share a short video with my realtor, and you can see what she recommends for people like us to work with her. So I'm going to go ahead and share. And you guys have some of this information and some you don't, but I'm going to go ahead and just play a very short clip from a video. And we have an excellent realtor. I can talk a little bit more about how to find them. So in this library, you guys do not have this information. There's about 250 hours of additional information, including interviews with probate attorneys, title companies, realtors, data providers, CRM companies. So this is Paige. She's excellent.
They have the integrity, they have the push and the drive to really work for you, not just want to get a listing and advertise it. They really want to work toward what your goals are and meet your goals, more of a listener.
I think some of us have listed properties with realtors or a listing service, and sometimes that seems to be the end of the work that's involved, put in from the realtor.
Yes. Some of them, they'll do like the paperwork, but they don't really, maybe go that extra mile and do those little extra things that sometimes it takes. The way you market it and the way you spread the word. We're always taught, or at least I was always taught, you don't want to be a secret agent. Don't be a secret agent. Let people know. They need to know what you do and who you are. And I feel like I carry that on to the listings. I don't have secret listings. Everybody that I can, let them know. We've got some land for sale. Sometimes we have resources where we contact investors. They'll contact us. And, you really want to get out there and promote what you can. And you kind of get a sense of that. It's me on some of the appointments. So now he's in. So it's myself and my husband that are Team Brian, and our mascot, which is our mini donkey.
So we get 2 for 1. Is that right?
Exactly. That's right. And we've done, a lot of times we will go together, because sometimes 2 perceptions, 2 ideas, 2 thoughts, things like that really helps talk things through. And then again, we have the benefit, if we have 2 appointments in one day or 3 appointments in one day, he goes to one and I go to one, and yet we're still working the same contracts.
Well, I know that when we go to our closings, that you come to the closings as well. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the effort. You don't necessarily need to do that, but Paige goes above and beyond. And again, being at this for 30 years, and I've worked with a lot of realtors, you and your husband are absolutely incredible. So we're thrilled about that. But can you talk a little bit, what we should look for in a realtor, but what do you look for in a client? Because there may be some clients that may not make sense or some that really make sense for you.
There are all types of people that are looking to either sell land, sell houses. Some have probate properties, some that they've never really even seen before, they're out of state and they're looking for somebody to sell something that's locally where we are. So I call it chit chat, but we always try to talk and get an idea of what their goals are. Are they looking to sell quickly? Are they not that motivated and just they want to let it sit for a while? There's not been a case where we have actually turned somebody down, but there have been cases where things just didn't work out because either they wanted a particular price and were not quite negotiable enough at the time for the market. And so you just have to kind of be able to communicate with them, find out what their needs are, and see if we can kind of manipulate some of the items of the listing to sell so that they can, reach their goals. Is most sellers will want a chunk of money down as a down payment.
It's listed for 21.9. So if we were to do seller financing, I'd want to get at least the 8,000 back out of it. But if we had specific terms that we wanted, can you put that in the listing?
You can, yes, absolutely. You can advertise owner financing in the listing. You can advertise upfront what you want your terms to be. All of the terms are negotiable. Usually the interest rate and the length of the amortization,
Right,
which is how you calculate your monthly payments. All of that can be advertised up front. Absolutely. Front, you have resources to go back and reach to some of those people that didn't end up making that payment, but maybe they like the next lot you have. So it's a way for us to keep some of the contacts from the ones that were initially interested. But yeah, that was very nice. And you can kind of predict when you're going to have a really quick sale on some of these, if it's already in certain, whether it's vacant land, wooded, whether it has some utilities available, things like that, because buyers take that into consideration. And so that also brings the appeal up.
Absolutely. I can send you my information.
Okay.
Would you like me to put it in the chat directly to you?
Please, yes, that had. How many showings did you get? How many phone work all three of the counties? But
so the main thing that I wanted to show is it is really important to pick a good agent. You can ask for referrals. You can look in PropStream. You can look in Redfin or Zillow and see an agent's name that comes up frequently. We are very fortunate to have Paige. And sometimes a realtor might not want to sell a $10,000 lot, but with her, you wouldn't know if it was a $500,000 house or a $10,000 lot. But I would make a suggestion that if I'm having her sell a $10,000 lot and she's splitting the commission, she's going to get $300. And I just think that is not fair. So what we did, we bought a lot for $2,000. I listed it with Paige for $10,000. She sold it in 6 hours. We got 5 times our money. I paid her $2,000. So she works hard for us and we want to make it fair. So we want to make that relationship work both ways. But having a great agent is really important. And as you're kind of building your team, a great title company is very important. And what's not necessarily, I would say, the title company, it's the title rep. So we work with a company called Clear Title. I've been working with them for 8 years. Our rep is amazing. We've worked with a couple of them there, and they are absolutely amazing. The transactions go smooth. They've got many years of experiences. I like to give people a chance too if they're just starting, but having them seasoned is very beneficial as well. So again,
Michael,
go ahead.
Michael, when you use a real estate agent under the NAR thing that just, in July of this year, so do you say we're going to pay 6% commission? Buyer, we pay 3%, seller, we pay the buyer's commission to their agent. Is that how you do it?
Yeah, well, I just deal with Paige, and
Yeah.
we make it 5%, and she can carve that up however she wants. That's up to
Gotcha.
her. It's been a great relationship. The slide showed she made us an extra $7,700 on a deal. And I did have a question in the chat. Do we give her an exclusive? And almost always, yes. A property that we have right now, I haven't listed it with her. I've got a builder that wants it. He's doing his due diligence right now. We bought it for 12. He's, he offered 34.5. But for some reason, if I end up listing that with Paige and the deal doesn't work, I've told Paige before, I want the right to contact builders on my own. So usually they're exclusive. Occasionally they're not, if I want to go ahead and market it too. So again, a great team is important. I've got great VAs. Jennifer knows about VAs, a great realtor, a great title company. And the title companies we used are owned by attorneys. I've got a great probate attorney, which I'll play a very short clip on that too. And this isn't so much, this is more on the acquisition side, but I'm going to play just a short clip. I work with Al Nicoletti. He's a probate attorney in Florida. So when we're contacting people, sellers, and the property's in the estate of someone, the person on title is deceased. So I contact the heirs, and the heirs don't want to pay the $3,500. I don't want to pay the $3,500. So we work with Al Nicoletti, and he'll take the $3,500 out of escrow. So now I can call all sorts of people. Yeah, so if we sell it for 10, we buy it for 10 and sell it for 20, and he needs to get paid the $3,500, it can come out of the seller's side or the buyer's side of the sheet, but he'll do that out of escrow. So having a great probate attorney is very beneficial too. I'm trying to acquire one right now, and the probate's kind of messy, but basically having the right team members. So that's kind of the steps that we use for selling the properties: Facebook Marketplace, the Home Builders Association, Habitat for Humanity, neighbors, listing them with realtors, signs, and I'm going to play another short video. And these are some of the teammates that we have. There's Jim Ingersoll that some of you know. And when we're doing land, Mark Poldowski, who's the land geek, he does a lot on seller financing. I personally prefer not to do seller financing. I would rather just get the money. But Jim has a great video that we did on doing wrap mortgages. And instead of creating one income stream, you can create 3.
Would you guys be open to that idea?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's just kind of talk through it. Let's say you're going to buy the, I just make all this up as I go here, Michael. Let's say you're going to buy it for $100,000 and you negotiate with the seller and they will do $5,000 down and finance the other $95,000. Now, what interest rate are you going to pay? I mean, I would consider trying to get as low of an interest rate as you can. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
So who's got a calculator? Jerry, I'm sure you've got one. Who's got a calculator with you? What's 95,000 divided by 200?
475.
Okay, so one of the offers, thank you. Was that you, Sam? All right, I love it. So one of the offers I would make is, okay, you want $100,000. I'm going to give you $5,000 at closing. And the remainder of the purchase, I'll make you 200 payments of $475 a month. Who would like that deal as a land investor? Do you like that? Okay. What's the interest rate? 0. Did you catch that? I think on land deals, you should be able to get 0 to 4% all the time. Because the seller has a negative cash flow. They're just paying taxes every year or not paying them, and that's why they need some help. So you give them a little bit of a down payment and then come up with something that you think would work, like 200 payments, $475 a month. If they ask you what the tax or what the interest rate is, just tell them the truth. You're not 100% sure, but you've built it into your monthly payment and the price they want. It's like you want to give them what they want, which is the 100,000. Then they've got to give you what you want, which is wholesale terms. I always say I want wholesale price or I want wholesale terms. You guys agree? You got to have the two.
Basically, if we're talking to them and say, if I give you the price that you want,
there you go.
Can you work with me on the terms?
There you go. I like that. You guys like that? Okay, so now let's say they accepted that, but in reality, you might have to give them 4% interest and whatever those numbers work out to. A low down payment and then a monthly payment from there forward. By the way, this works really well in like a self-directed IRA. Do you guys use IRAs? Have you learned about self-directed IRAs? You should. They're very powerful tax weapons. Love it. Okay, so let's say you turn around, you advertise it on Facebook Marketplace with the exact description he just used, and you find a buyer at 150. Okay, but now you're going to finance it, and you're going to finance it on what's called a wrap mortgage. Okay, which is just going to wrap around the purchase. So and if you have questions, just unmute and ask me. But let's say you sell it for 150, and it's like, go ahead. I'm sorry. Maybe they're talking to somebody else. Let's say instead of a $5,000 down payment, let's say you got 20,000 down. Do you think that's reasonable, Michael?
Yeah, I think typically between 12 to 20% down.
Okay. So let's say it's 150 and you're going to get a $20,000 down payment. And instead of selling it at 0% interest, why don't you sell it at 8 or 9% interest? Do you think that's reasonable, Michael?
If traditional financing is going to be on vacant land, 7 or 8%, I think if you have a penalty.
Let's go 10%.
Yeah,
okay.
9.5, 10%.
So Jerry, do you have a financial calculator or mortgage calculator or somebody to?
I wasn't going to play the whole thing, but typically I just buy and sell, but there's another way to generate revenue also that is a wrap mortgage. And Jennifer knows Jim. He's absolutely amazing, great character. But just to enlighten you guys, there are other techniques as well. So if I have a seller that wants a very high price, I can give them the price if they'll give me the terms. So I'm gonna want one or the other. So wrap mortgages are a great technique as well.
He literally just texted me right before you sent that. Or right before
Pardon me?
He literally just texted me right before you started, so I sent him a picture of him doing the wrap.
Oh, good. But anyway, if you guys don't know, Jim Ingersoll is fabulous. He has a group called Dealmaker. You can join some of the Dealmaker groups and a wealth of knowledge. So I think it's good that we're all continuously learning. I'm learning from Jim. I continue to take classes from various people, even learning today, brainstorming myself. Well, where else can I get these building permits, and just being a little bit creative? And that's pretty much some of the things that I do with the land are pretty creative. The due diligence on the seller, that most people do due diligence on the property, do the due diligence on the seller. You understand their situation. I know their income, their net worth, their credit scores. I know if they have bankruptcies, liens, judgments. I pull their criminal history, business licenses, and business affiliations. That is a little creative. And then, as we spoke earlier about the 3-offer technique, that will make you additional money. The one we closed on September 3rd, the 3-offer technique made us an extra $1,000 or $2,000 just with what the menu that we offered to the seller. You guys have any questions?
Michael, I'm going to ask, I don't know if you know the answer to this or not, it might be off topic, but so let's say that you have a seller that does want to use their IRA to buy this property. What if they can't afford all of it? It's 150 grand. They have 50 in their IRA. They put the 50 in. They need the balance of 100 or whatever, not to, it's not really using the wrap mortgage, but they want to just buy it. Can their IRA get a loan for 100,000 to finish the purchase? Do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I figure I'd just shoot straight with you. I'm not sure. I would.
That gets a little tricky when you're doing loans and mortgages inside of IRAs. But I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Al.
I haven't seen any comments about having a website and having people come to your website. So I take it you don't sell from a website.
Yeah, as people are getting started, my suggestion is, they're worried, I've got to get my LLC and I've got to get my website and get all this. And, they want to focus on everything but getting out there and doing business. My suggestion is build a list, contact sellers, and start doing deals. And then after that, you've done 1 or 2, then I would start doing that. But otherwise, In the old days, you'd procrastinate and say, I got to go get my business cards and I've got to do this. And people are doing everything but doing the business. I do have a website. I have hardly anyone that goes to it, seller or buyers. Sometimes they want a little credibility and say, well, let me see your website. But, you know, last one might have been 2 years ago. It's very infrequent. Some people, though, want to sell a lot of properties on websites, and they've got a good inventory of properties, and then it would be a good tool.
I noticed that the interview you played for PropStream, he said that there are websites within that. Is that an extra fee? Do you know?
As far as I know, PropStream has 2 fees, and I may be off a little bit. It's $97. The 97 one is very adequate. The $127 one has something called it monitors your list for you. So if you want people that have owned for 20 years or longer, and someone owned it for 19 and now it turned to 20, it would automatically populate your list.
I see.
And the more expensive one, they just bought another company, and the more expensive one now, I believe, gives you free skip tracing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael, does the Clear Title take care of double closings and reps for seller financing?
Yeah, Clear Title is great. They'll do double closings. Sometimes I'll do an assignment, meaning I get the property and I can assign it to a builder. And when I do an assignment, you want to be selective about which title company you use. Most title companies will want to disclose to the seller what your assignment fee is. So if I bought it for 10 and sold it for 30, or assigned it for 30, and I'm going to have a $20,000 assignment fee, the seller that sold it for 10 sees that, the deal might explode. So in those cases, I do one of 2 things. I do a double close, and I use the end buyer's money to fund the deal, and I use their money to pay off my initial seller. The other thing I can do if I want to do an assignment, and I've got a title company in Florida I can refer you to, they do what's called a blind HUD. They don't disclose to the seller what your assignment fee is.
Okay, so they take care of everything, then you don't.
Yeah, the title company will take care of everything. You know, I work with 2 of them basically. One that does assignments and double closes when I don't go through Clear Title for that. But 90% of the time or 80% of the time, I go through Clear Title, and we've got great reps.
Okay.
Does Clear Title work beyond Escambia County?
Yeah, and I just got a message. They do. They'll do all of Florida. And I just got a message. Yes, that's a good idea. Profit first. And then another one. It seems the title I used in Orlando is also called Clear Title. Is that a chain? To my knowledge, they have 3 branches in the Pensacola, Escambia County area. But I've got many teammates that use Clear Title.
I didn't realize it was an option for them to disclose the assignment fee. I thought that was a requirement.
There's one I use, and I got it through a real estate investment club that they use. They don't disclose it. They do 2 sets of closing statements. They don't disclose it to the seller. And it may vary by state, by geography. So, always be careful to do your homework.
Yeah, that was sort of my thought was, what's the best way to say, for example, you're fishing in South Carolina and you needed to get a closing attorney there. Is it to go to the real estate investment group that's local to the area and ask who will do double closes? Because I spoke to an attorney friend of mine here local in Georgia, and he was very sort of like staunch, against that, and thought it was suspicious. And he just doesn't do that. He's not involved with investors.
Yeah. Well, where I started, I had a teammate that was looking for a title company in Tallahassee, Florida. And so I just did a Facebook post, and I said, I'm looking for a title company in Tallahassee that is very friendly with investors. And so I posted it. I don't know if I got 40 or 50 responses, but I was looking for multiple responses for the same title companies. And that was the technique I used to go ahead and start interviewing them.
That's kind of the code word when you say you're looking for investor-friendly title companies. They pretty much know what you mean.
Yeah, I think so. And when I'm building my Facebook list, I'm primarily looking for ones that are Pensacola real estate, Pensacola buy, sell real estate, Pensacola realtors. And that's pretty much where I try to post. But same thing with this. You put them in the local real estate groups there. We're the Pensacola real estate investors, and you post there, and at least it's a good way to get the dialogue going.
Here in Virginia, I believe we now have a little more litigation against doing wholesaling. Is that the case in Florida, or what is the status?
It is not, but it's changing in some areas. And to avoid that, you can do a double close.
Right.
So then it's not an assignment. So that, you can get a transactional funding to fund the deal for a day or two, whatever it is. You can joint venture with people. There are many solutions for that.
Okay.
Some people, they just don't have the money, and they're all wholesaling, and they could do a double close.
Michael, do you share institutional lenders who love doing these types of deals for the double closes?
I don't have a list per se, but when I go to Jim's group, there's so many people in his group that say, we want to lend you money. And so if people are looking for lenders for that, I should probably put together a list for that, which I haven't done. But, like Jim will say, well, can I fund your deals? And I said, no, I'm good, but no. But if someone has a good deal, the money will not be the problem. I've got a Facebook group with 5,600 people in there. People can post in there, post in the local real estate investment club meetings. I go to the local one here sometimes, and some of you might know Bill Allen. Anyway, he's in that group. But I would suggest, networking with your local real estate investment club as well. I don't go to mine every month, but it's a good way to network there.
Thank you, Michael. I understand Jeff Chahusky, if you guys know him, was doing a big push earlier this year for doing double closing and transactional lending. I don't know if that included land, but I can text him and ask.
Yeah, that would be great. So just going over the selling, it wasn't extremely long, but it's Facebook Marketplace is maybe 60% of our deals. And what I like about that is when they message you, I retain that list. So, I don't know, we have 700 or 800 people on there. The neighbor letters are great. The adjacent neighbors are great. That's a great one there as well. Habitat for Humanity, the Home Builders Association, showing you guys on PropStream how I bring up the list of investors right there. That works out great.
So, Michael,
go ahead.
Did you call your realtor after you list on Facebook and not sell, then you call your realtor?
No, if I'm going to list it with the realtor, I just do that immediately, and I don't put it on Facebook Marketplace.
How do you decide which one put with realtor, which one put on Facebook Marketplace?
I probably pick the cream of the crop, the ones I don't want to deal with. I send to the realtor. We did one, which I've shown. It was almost 3 acres. It was 100% flood zone. It was 30% wetlands. I did not want to deal with the property. I'd never seen the property. We bought it for $6,500 and listed it with the realtor, and she sold it for $25,000. But I didn't want to go, and it's very rare that I ever meet a seller or buyer. It's unusual. The one we just closed on, the woman's local. I did actually meet them at the property, but it's unusual. But with the realtors, I list the ones I don't want to deal with.
Okay. But you never list yourself on MLS or Zillow, those kind of things.
I'm not a
realtor. Owner.
Yeah, I'm not a realtor.
But you don't need to be a realtor, list on Zillow.
Yeah, you can use some of the self-serve real estate sites. You pay them $150 and they'll list the property for you. I don't do that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that it's right or wrong to do that. It's a way to probably save some money. My realtor is full service, and I think many times people think realtors get paid too much. I think they don't get paid enough.
Yeah, I agree. If it's a good realtor, it's just for us, if we start to, test the market, everything, we need to find the right one. I agree with you. A good realtor is better than you list by yourself, but it's hard. It takes time to find a good realtor.
Yeah. And that's just kind of like doing your due diligence on a property. You do your due diligence on the realtors. You could ask the title company, which realtors would they recommend for land? That would be a good resource as well.
Yeah, and also like you said, if it is only sell 20K, realtor may not want to sell. Even if you give them 10%, it's like a 2,000.
Yeah. We bought a lot off the MLS recently. It had been on the MLS for 5 years. The guy that owned it forgot he owned it. It was listed for 10,000, or it was listed for $20,000. We bought it for 10. All I did was turn around and relist it with a new realtor for 20,000, and it sold because the old listing became stale. But the realtor that listed that one, I paid him 10% commission.
Yeah, I was from a flip background, but I didn't flip anything for sale. I was holding those properties, but I saw those people like listing with different realtor. The result is very different.
Yeah.
You have to find the right one.
Yeah. Well, there's one technique that I did not mention. There are many sites that just do land. So you get on the internet.
Land.com, something.
Yeah, land.com. There are many of them, and someone had said one is much better than most of them, but
which one?
I don't recall. Since I just work the local market, I don't want to list with the national land company that's putting it out there, unless maybe it was a property near the beach or something like that. Then I might.
Like it is like hundreds of dollars per month.
Yeah.
Like those kind of thing. It's also not very cheap.
Yeah, I mean, being at this for as long as I have, I've used so many different tools, CRMs and data providers and lead providers, but I can't possibly use all of them. I try to share the ones that I think are the best. Again, Deal Machine people have been raving about lately. I've got a VA, she helps someone else and they use Deal Machine. I have four teammates that were on my Wednesday call and they were all raving about Deal Machine. I've got a free account with them. I just need to get back in there and do it. So move it up my priority list. But that would be one to explore. Another one is Land Portal that I use. If someone wants to do subdivides, Land Portal is a great tool for that. You can calculate road frontage and those type of things, and slope and wetlands and flood zones, and you can skip trace one record at a time for free. But there are many, many of them.
Hey, Michael.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have another question?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Jennifer, by the way. Michael, I have a property. I picked it up about 3 months ago and we wound up closing on it. It was a back pocket listing that a realtor had, and we got it at about 40 cents on the dollar. And the situation is, we got a great price on it, but it was over $1 million. So I brought in a couple of capital partners on it, and they were okay with just, each of us going thirds and then parting it out when we finally sell it. One thing I've been trying to do is just try to sell the whole 40 acres. It's already platted, it's subdivided, it's clear. It was at one time pasture land, so it's just green grass. It looks beautiful. We just had to put a Florida Power and Light easement down the center of it, and that's going to be done in about 2 weeks. But aside from giving it back to the realtor who deals in a lot of raw land and putting it on the, oh gosh, I can't think of what's the commercial website where a lot of commercial brokers list their stuff? I can't think of it offhand.
Is it like Crexy or
LoopNet?
Thank you, LoopNet. It's on LoopNet. It's on the MLS as well. But we're in a market down here in Charlotte County, Florida, where it is just crickets. So I did start manually calling builders, but a lot of the builders are kind of shutting down. If they can't move their end inventory, they're not going to start necessarily, a new build in this market until they see a turnaround. So I was just shouting this out there to see if you maybe had some suggestions on some other sites that could deal in larger pieces like 40 acres. I've been holding off on wanting to part it out Because once I start to Frankenstein the property and selling little, I might pass up the buyer who wanted the whole 40. And, but it's going to come to a point where we're going to have to draw a line in the sand and say, all right, we don't have a buyer for the whole 40. Let's just sell it an acre at a time. And we can do that. An acre it's actually 32 1.25 acre lots. And the market value on them right now is pretty strong at about 70 to 75,000. But they're not moving. That's slow.
I was going to ask you, can you share a link to the listing so maybe we can help you move it?
Yeah, I can. You know what? I'm in the car right now. I'm not on my laptop, but if I can maybe send it to Michael, and Michael can distribute it, would that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let me do that when I get back to the laptop later on tonight.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll work with anybody on it that can move it. That would be great. We have it out there right now at 1.9, but we're flexible on it. We'll move on the price.
What town is it close to?
It's in Punta Gorda, Florida, and it's like 10 minutes from all the rustic seafood restaurants down on the water. It's in a great location.
Is it hilly or swampy or?
No, it's got a perfectly clean environmental, no gopher tortoises, no scrub jays, no bald eagles, no wetlands, no. It's really, that was what was surprising. We got 40 acres with not one stupid turtle on it. That was really surprising. But we got
It's never been built on it, huh?
Correct. In fact, it's the last 40 acre tract in this whole subdivision. They call it the ranchettes of Charlotte County because a lot of people like to have a little ranch with, like I know 1.25 acres is not that big to have a ranch, but you could do any division of, or any multiple rather of 1.25. You could have 2.5, 5 acres, 10 acres, 20 acres, whatever you want to make.
Do you have the county restrictions and regulations on what you can build there?
No, you can actually do mobile homes there, which is my specialty. But I've got 3 mobile homes on the market right now, and they're moving really slow. So we might see a turn with the lowering of the interest rates, but it's going to take a couple of months before we really, see any pickup in the market.
Sounds like there's just not a lot of activity in Punta Gorda.
There's actually the commercial sector is booming. And the single family home, you've got all the big guys like Toll Brothers, Lennar, Miranda. They're building homes by the thousands. And we just scratch our heads like they're smarter than we are. I'm just doing, 4 or 5 houses a year new construction, but they're putting their bets that, they started these big tract subdivisions that, when they actually get them built up, maybe in the next 6 months to 12 months, that they'll be in a better market and people will start buying them. And I should say new construction is actually selling in our area. It's the older homes that aren't selling.
Yeah, and if you want to, just shoot me a message and we can hop on a Zoom and I can show you some of the tools I have and maybe just do a little prospecting.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
So I think Matthew had asked me probably 2 days ago and yesterday, how do I get the Versium data? So I just put in the chat the email address. And I'm going to put the guy's name who I send the email to. It's let's go at leadminingpros.com, and his name is Highwell. And what I'm asking for is demographic, append, and contact append, and age. So this is a criteria. When I send a list to him, just a CSV file, in my email, I put, I would like to have you run this list with demographic append, contact append, and age. It comes out to 12 cents a record. There are many other skip tracing sites, some much more economical, and they're great. This is one that's worked well for me, and it's just a resource for you guys. And I think most of you have seen the data that I have on that.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah. So hopefully that helps out a little bit. I do have a screen sharing problem because we get going and then I forget to share my screen, so bear with me. So we saw a brief video with Jim Ingersoll. We saw one with Paige as well. And then I've got one more that I'd like to show you briefly. And this is if you're thinking about doing probate.
always require this probate to be done. So Michael picks up a deal in Lee County and the person died 20 years ago. You're still going to need to do probate for that person, right? So we are going through all these procedures and processes. That's really the breakdown of what we're doing. And on another point about breaking down the process, where a lot of investors struggle is, who are we supposed to talk to? Right? So Michael picks up that deal in Lee County. He found that 3-acre lot. He saw that John Smith owned the property, but he looked through the records, or the title company said, hey, we need probate here. And Michael's talking to the brother. And you're wondering, well, is the brother really the right person that we're supposed to be speaking with? And that's where you got to really unwind this thing, because in Florida, we have all these statutes and crazy things that, people have to interpret all the time, all this law. We want to break this down very simply. And really, this tree is really what you're following to break this process down. So one of the first things you're trying to find out in a probate is, did that person have a will or no will? And that's relevant, because if you find out that they had a will, what does it say? Where is it? Does it name people? Does it name people?
So I didn't want to go through an hour of Al Nicoletti, but if you guys are thinking about doing probate, I think he's the #1 expert in Florida. It has helped us do more deals. It has helped us do deals that other people could not do, just because the way he structures everything. That would be another recommendation for you guys. So it's basically about, we were talking primarily about selling. Having someone on your side like Al, that's typically on the acquisition side for me, but it can come into play on the selling side too. So I would strongly recommend him. People like Jim Ingersoll for wraps, great title company, great realtors, just kind of putting together the full team. And if anyone is interested in working together on a deeper level, I do 100 Zoom sessions a year that goes over everything in the course, plus the additional information there. And there is an opportunity to continue working together on a deeper level. I put a link in there. It includes a private Facebook group. I typically do Zoom sessions on Wednesdays. It varies slightly. At 12:30 Central Time, it's typically Deal Lab. And that's where we look at people's deals. We beat up their deals. My background's appraisal, and we really try to zoom in on them. And the one that is typically at 5 p.m. Central Time, that one, sometimes it'll be me, sometimes it'll be Al Nicoletti or Paige the realtor, the title companies, the people that own Deal Machine, the different vendors there as well, if anyone just wants to work together on a deeper level. So I just thought I would share that. And I had mentioned on Monday, at the end, I would share a way that we can continue to work together if that's something that people need a little additional help.
When did you say the Zooms typically are?
Yeah, they're typically, and I post them. We post it on Sundays. We post it on Sundays in the Facebook group, and this is the Facebook group for the people that want additional information. And you can post your deals in there. But here we posted on Sunday, we had Deal Lab on the 17th at 12:30. I didn't have my 5 o'clock one because I was on here with you guys. So what happens is on Sunday, we'll go ahead and do the post just for additional guidance, digging deeper, maybe you need help with the appraising, some resources like Al Nicoletti and what have you. And then you'll also get an email for when they're going to be the following week. So again, it's about 100 hours of additional us meeting together a year. Occasionally, I travel to California frequently. My mom is 95 and she's doing great, but I travel occasionally. So it may be on a Thursday or I may do one from out there. So there's a Facebook group there and there's some additional content here as well.
Did you say most of them are on Wednesdays?
Yeah, typically on Wednesday. Like, here's the probate
But
checklist from
that's during Jim's group.
Pardon me?
I said, but then can we be in two places at once?
Jim's group's an hour before mine.
Oh, because you're all right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, here's a probate
Your time.
checklist from Al Nicoletti, letter templates. This is 8 minutes long, but it's a great session. His name's Ryan Smith. Ryan is excellent at data. He has helped me a lot. And this talks about finding probate leads and death certificates and quitclaim, what have you. I'm absolutely thrilled to share a short presentation by my friend Ryan Smith of Leadsmith. Ryan is an absolute genius when it comes to data and finding motivated sellers. With Ryan's technique,
whole sheet and come over here and click on the filter. And I want to show you guys a few things to pay attention to here. One of the things,
but that's another video. It goes on about 8 minutes. And when I met Ryan initially, I flew from Pensacola to Orlando to go meet Ryan. And it was a 7-figure flipping group. And so it was a 3-day thing. I met Ryan. I said, the reason I'm here was to meet you. It turns out Ryan lives 10 miles from me. So he's great. And this is a public group that we have. There's 5,600 people in here. And Ryan did a post today, and I keep it pretty much to land, but I was helping Ryan a little bit. So he put it in here, and he's got a product you can put in here. And I think he'll send you a link for free. And then he may end up selling something for $27. But it's basically on finding these motivated sellers that many other people are having difficulty to find. I like to think that I'm good at building lists of people that need to sell. Ryan is great as well.
And then Michael, would that include the ability during these Zoom meetings to ask you questions if we have a sticky deal?
Yeah. I'm pretty casual and very open. It's just kind of my nature. Yeah, you can bring up any kind of deals. Wednesday's deal lab. Well, one time I'll get people that bring 10 deals, and the next week people have no deals. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, I've got an hour here, so usually it's very productive. And occasionally we did one a few Wednesdays ago, and the guy wanted to share an embarrassing moment. So he shared this embarrassing moment. So then I shared the time I sat on the cake. But you can bring anything you want. And I'm very open if people have suggestions for guest speakers. A request I had from one of the teammates is, let's have someone come on that's really good at seller financing. Jim did the one on wraps, but I'm very open to suggestions as well.
And are those recorded?
They are. I'll show you. Everything is recorded, but I do not put everything in the library. Sometimes if we're just kind of shooting the breeze, here's one here, July 16th. It says, just Q&A, great session. So it was just kind of a smorgasbord, but sometimes it's more specific on how you do subdivisions. And you guys have the 4 hours on ChatGPT. I paid Rick Sheldon $500 to present those 4-hour sessions or 1-hour sessions. That's in your guys' library. So most everything's in here. Occasionally, if it's not extremely valuable, I just don't want to clutter the library up.
You have mentioned that when you make offers, you record your calls. Is that an app that you use specifically?
Well, I use a few different services. I have Pebble that's by Jesse Kwong.
Okay.
Which we use. And then I also use a call service. I think it's CallRail, and my VAs use it so they can call and text and what have you. And those calls are recorded.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michael, on the email that we're going to send for the Versium data, does that automatically go to Highwell, or do we have to, do something else to get it to him?
Yeah, I just addressed it in the subject line. I put Highwell and I put my name in there. And the service has always been great. The last one I did was about 2 weeks ago. And I think the list I showed you that had 770 people that were delinquent on taxes. It's right here. So Jennifer, this is PropStream information you see on my screen. And then this would be the Versium data as I get further over here. So I've got all these people were behind on their taxes. That's the tax delinquency there. And then the additional information I ask for, I get up to 6 phone numbers. I can tell if they're landlines or mobile. I can request it either way. And then as I continue, I want to be very sensitive about marketing to a specific age or gender, but a significant portion of our deals are people that are over 65. So you can see there, I can do a campaign based on age or age and gender. And then I know a lot of times, whether they're married or they're single. I know how many credit cards they have. I know if they're upscale credit cards or not. Here's income. So what I try to do is work the bottom of the funnel. So I find someone, they lived out of state, they've owned the property for 20 years or longer. They're 70 years old. They're making $20,000 a year. And I've got home values, household income, estimated net worth, number of credit cards, what types they are, and credit score. And I don't get credit scores on all the records.
So did you send him your CSV file from PropStream and then he just sent it back to you with his stuff appended?
Yeah, this is all the stuff that he sent back to me on the right-hand side. All this, I even know year, make, and model of car. And then after I do that, I'm marketing to these people, and then I'm engaging with them. I try to figure out what is the property worth. And then I want to put in a profit margin. And then I do my background on them before I make the offer. So I had one guy, he's an out-of-state fugitive. And I'm thinking, so we didn't do that one. But I think I showed one yesterday. We're making an offer on the property. The mom's 91. So I pulled up the daughter and did the background on her. She can't sign, but it was heroin and cocaine and everything. I just take that into account when I'm making my offer. So I really go deep on the property due diligence, and I really go deep on the people due diligence. Question, what about Google Voice? I used Google Voice when I started, but what I don't like about it is someone calls Google Voice and they have to leave their name, and then it's not smooth. So it's a great way to start if you want to keep your overhead down. I don't use it. Yeah, I wouldn't use your personal cell for mass calls because it gets marked as spam. Great idea. Yeah, we use CallRail. I was using Open Phone, so I just recently started about 3 or 4 weeks ago with CallRail. So I'm very careful about texting. There are good platforms for that. There's REI Reply. There's Launch Control. When we're texting, we're doing very few. I tell her, I said, don't send like more than 5 texts an hour. I'm not doing tons of volume. I mean, it's not me, and I used to have 65 employees. It's my wife and I. And so my list is small. A lot of people they're sending 30 or 40,000 texts a month. I have 3,000 people total on my list. So my list is pretty small.
Michael, what made you decide to downscale your staff? I assumed the ROI just wasn't there.
When I had 65 people, that was in the appraisal business. My background's appraisal, and I started by myself and I sold it. We're doing 7,000 appraisals a month throughout the United States. So at this point in my life, I'm keeping my life simple. The important thing is to go visit family. I've got 4 daughters, 2 in California, 1 in Texas, 1 in Colorado. My mom's in California. The time is very valuable. So with the land, I can turn it off. I can go to California and turn the land off for 2 weeks. I cannot turn off my accountability to the teammates. So we are all teammates now. I need to be accountable and be available. Occasionally I'll say, I'm not working this weekend, but I guess that's why I downsized. I can do 2 or 3 deals a month. We buy it for 10, we sell it for 20. That's kind of an average deal. The one we just bought it for 12, we're selling it for 34. I think the worst we've done is make $3,000 on a deal, but I've just become better at the data and the information and working smarter. And I work a lot of hours, but I can do it when I want. So it was this morning. I said, well, I'm not working anymore today till now. But I love what I do. I love the land part. I do so many Zooms. I really enjoy that, and I have a hard time saying no. So I'm pretty available.
Thanks for sharing your wisdom on that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a little personal insight as well. So we did cover quite a bit in 5 days. And it's not you're going to learn everything in 5 days or 10 hours. It gives you a good foundation. And we went through the process of, just the exact steps I go through, picking a market area, building list, trying to build good list and market to list that other people are not marketing to, then contacting these people, doing the due diligence on the property and doing the due diligence on the people, determining what the property's worth, and then coming up with your how much you want. Say the property's worth $20,000 and you want to make 6,500. The most I can offer is 13,500. Well, I'm going to give three offers: 13,500 seller financing, 11,500 close in 90 days. Now I can do an assignment or double close, but then I always give them a cash offer, close in 2 weeks, 11,500. Most of the time they take the lowest price cash offer, but they negotiate against themselves instead of me. And if they want more than the 11,500, I said, well, you've got two other options. It's fun. I love it. And it's kind of I don't know. I never played a bunch of video games, but I feel like I'm addicted to it.
But then when you're doing the 3 offer deal, you're always prepared to be able to close within 2 weeks if they take that lowest. Okay. So, and that's because you've done a lot of your due diligence up front.
For me to go through a deal, it's like anything. You use a new software and the first time it takes you 4 hours. For me to go through a deal, it's probably a 30-minute deal at the most. The whole thing, it's repetition, and I just do it over and over again. And I'm familiar with PropStream and Redfin, and IDI Core is a great tool that I use for the background checks. It's great for skip tracing too. I mean, I typically have people's phone numbers in 2 minutes, and most of them are recent cell phone numbers. So that's a great tool, but just doing it repetitively, becoming proficient at it. And I can typically go through a deal quick, but sometimes I'll find one when there aren't any good comps. And then what do? Many times I'll reach out to the realtors that have sold the area recently. And there's another technique that I use, and it's not perfect, but it's a tool. I can look at an area and say, okay, properties in Pensacola that are assessed at 10,000 in this zip code are selling for 20,000. So a lot of times if I don't have comps, I can get an idea by just looking at the assessed value and apply a ratio to it and get a gauge of what I think I can sell it for. So one that we bought for 6,500, it was assessed at 12,500. It was wetlands and flood zones. That's why my offer was so low. The woman paid 7,800 for it 7 years before I paid 6,500. Again, it was assessed at 12,500. I listed it with the realtor and it sold for 25,000, double assessed value. But based on the circumstances of the property, it had more risk, so my offer was more conservative. So I just enjoy. I tell people 30 or 35 years. I've actually been doing this longer, but I'm not going to tell you that. But I've learned a lot. You learn those nuggets. You learn nuggets from Jim Ingersoll. You learn the 3 offer technique. You learn doing background on people instead of just the property. And the two things that will make you a couple extra $1,000 is the 3 offer technique and doing due diligence on the people. Both those will make you additional money.
Hey, Michael, could I ask a quick question on the current market conditions?
Yeah.
So I know that with your experience, because as you were saying that, it made me think, with all the many years of experience, you've seen properties that sell, the ones that don't sell, like things to stay away from. Anything that a new person should stay away from right out of the gate, like just anything like specific that maybe isn't selling in the marketplace today.
Yeah, and part of it is just learning experience, but one thing is wetlands.
Sure.
Wetlands, the only deal that I made an offer on that I haven't closed on was because of wetlands. That, and in Florida, the gopher turtles.
Yeah, the endangered species. Yeah.
I don't have those where I am, so I wasn't aware of it. But I believe it can cost up to $6,500 to have one of those removed from a property.
There's also those birds that you can't, if they have a habitat on that lot, you can't get them off. It's like a dead lot.
Yeah.
I've heard nightmare stories.
Yeah, going into the market area and maybe talking to a realtor and say, I've been selling land in Pensacola. I'm coming into this market area. Can you give me any advice or suggestions of just things I should be careful of and, enlighten me, doing your due diligence? And probably one of the most important things is trying to nail the value of what you can sell it for. It's not perfect, but then my profit margin is substantial enough that even if I make a mistake, I'm still going to be okay.
Yeah. So there's nothing new today that you haven't already seen. It's, when things get tight, you offer more seller financing. When times are good, everyone's paying with cash. It's just an ebb and flow of every market.
When I had the appraisal business, it's so interest rate sensitive. I don't know, we'd do 7,000 appraisals a month and I had 65 employees. And if rates go up, my volume was off 90% and I had 65 employees. It's that roller coaster. But I adjust to the market, whatever the conditions are. So now if interest rates are high, my offers are lower. If interest rates are low, my offers are higher. So if it's harder to buy, it's easier to sell. If it's easy to buy, it might be just vice versa. I flipped houses in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I've told people some of my horror stories about not being handy, but I don't need termite inspections. I don't need property inspections. I don't need to meet with the sellers. I don't need to meet with the buyers. I don't need to do anything to it. And the sellers with houses, it's an asset and they can rent it out. Well, with land, they get their tax bill every year. My biggest mailing will be going out October 28th, or really the only mailing for the year. And they get my letter when they get their tax bill. So they can either write a check or they can get a check. But you guys have been great. We are all teammates. I want to thank you all so very much. It's been a great week. We've spent 10 hours together, and I want to thank you guys very much.
Yeah, great.
All righty. Well, thank you guys. You're welcome. I see a few more comments. I appreciate you all. And we all officially graduated. We're teammates.